तैयार भी नहीं है। क्यों जी?
स्लीपिंग बैग अब नहीं चाहिए।
ओए आपको भी
नहीं लगाऊंगा।
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the finale of the Rush Lake, Rush Peak trek here in the Nagar district of Gilgit-Baltistan. If you watch part 2 of this series, you know that right now I'm coming down from Rush Peak. It was an amazing experience. I think I expressed plenty of my emotions about how I feel about Rush Peak, the area, this whole trek. So now I want to talk about what's going to be happening today. So right now I'm heading back to my beautiful camp spot at Rush Lake. Gonna pack up my things, and then me and Kazim are heading out of here a different way than we came. How do I explain it? Tough one. I think I'll put up a map, but we're going back down the same mountain, just a different part. And then as soon as we get down, we're crossing the Miar Glacier, which is just down there. Comes down from Miar Peak. And then once we get to the other side of the glacier, actually this mountain here, there's a trail that picks up, and we'll walk a ways. I assume it's going to be pretty flat, just like this side. And then we're camping at a place called Hamder Camp. I think that's what it's called. I've been watching it for the past few days. It's a nice grassy area. It looks like a beautiful place to camp. And that's probably about halfway back to Hopper Village. And then the next day we'll continue walking the trail and connect back to the trail we started on that little piece of land in between the first two glaciers. Once again, I'll put up a map if I haven't already. I'm having trouble explaining it. I can't even breathe actually because the elevation, and I'm talking so much. But that's what's going down today. I'd say like 5,000 feet down we're going today. If I have knees left after this, I'll be surprised. But yeah, everything has gone perfect so far on this trip. I mean, I'm just blown away by the scenery. I really am. Anyway, it turns out I'm not too good at walking and talking, but I'm gonna keep trying anyway. Just over this hill here and down is the lake and my camp. Gonna pack up, probably eat some lunch, and then start heading down towards the glacier, cross the Miar Glacier, walk a ways, and set up camp at Hamder tonight. So I'm just crossing the Miar Glacier now, and this is a crazy experience for me. The first two glaciers we crossed were nothing like this. This is just straight ice. You see, it's very easy to walk on. Check that out. This is just so fascinating to me. This is like nothing I've ever experienced before. And it's just like rolling hills of ice. It's amazing. So once we cross this, only 2 miles to Humder Camp. Should get there right on the edge of dark. So wow, this is too good, guys. I love this.
बस नहीं जाती है चलो यार 12-1 बजे कह रहे हैं हाँ बस सुबह 12-1 बजे वहाँ जाके देख लेते हैं आनिश इधर मैं कह रहा हूँ यहाँ से चलते हैं हम जाके ढूंढ लेंगे निकलेंगे यहाँ से
Good morning, guys. It is now day 4, the final day of the trek. Somehow I woke up at Humder Camp this morning, and let me tell you, day 3 was just about as long as day 2, the trek up to the lake. As I mentioned yesterday, I spent a long time up at Rush Peak. It was just so beautiful. I had a hard time coming down. I spent 3 hours at the summit. We ended up leaving camp at Rush Lake at around 2 p.m. I could tell Kazim wasn't too happy about that, but that's usually why I go alone when I'm trekking, so I can not be on a schedule and go at my own pace. But in this case, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Kazim. So anyway, we hiked down, I think, like I said, I think it was around 5,000 feet. It was pretty tough on the knees. Kazim was nice enough to carry my bag for a little bit. And then the highlight of yesterday was definitely crossing Miar Glacier. That's something I wouldn't have done without Kazim. Like I said, I wouldn't have done any of this without Kazim, because the first part of this video, I tried to go alone and I turned back. So that was the first time for me I've really crossed a true glacier, I would call it, where it's just ice. There's creeks flowing through, there's like ice canyons. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And of course I was moving pretty slow, taking plenty of videos and photos. And the last part of the glacier crossing, it was more like huge rock ice hills with huge crevasses, and we ended up going through that part pretty much in the dark, which made me feel pretty bad about being late, I guess, being late back to camp from Rush Peak. It's more dangerous for Kazim and myself. But then we got to the other side, and Kazim was really wanting to make it to Humder, so we ended up hiking in the dark. It was the longest 2 or 2.5 miles ever, I think, for me, mainly because for about half of it was straight up cliff drop, death drop trail, and some parts were so narrow you could only fit 1 foot, and like I said, if you fall off, you're dead. And at one point my phone was dying, and I wasn't sure if my light was gonna cut off right when I was on the edge of a cliff, but I have a power bank and I was able to charge it up. And then there was a pretty sketchy river crossing. Kazim hopped a rock, and I tried to hop the same one, and of course it toppled over and I fell in. Just my feet, really. I got wet, but that's usually the case, honestly. Anyway, I'm super happy to be here. We only have 5 miles left to go back to Hooper Village. This area, Humder, is so beautiful. It's crazy how most of this area is just desert, and then these green grass, rolling hill areas, and there's some shepherds living here. 2 younger guys are with him. We just had tea and bread with him. So overall, trying not to complain. I really can't complain. Like I said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kazim. I'm just not used to being fast, really. I'm so slow. That's one of the main reasons I go by myself, so I can film my videos and take my pictures. Also, if you can't tell, the sun is in my eyes pretty bad right now, but I don't want a shadow on my face, so that's what I'm doing. But anyway, I wanted to say, the guys from, let's see, day 1 are here from Lahore. 3 guys and their guide, also from Hooper, who I started the trek with. They did not make it up to Rush Lake. They turned around, but I was really happy to come here in the dark last night and see them. They were nice enough to feed me mutton biryani, and we just sat and talked, and they kind of communicated some of the things me and Kazim wanted to say to each other, because there's a pretty big language barrier there. Anyway, I'm just really happy with how this trek has gone overall, and how we just have beautiful weather every day makes no sense to me. There's 20 to 25,000 foot mountains all around. You'd think it would curate some rain or snow even in the summertime, but the weather's just perfect every day, at least while I'm trekking. So I feel really lucky for that so far with my time in Pakistan. This trek has taken all the life out of me, but I'm really glad I had the opportunity to do it, especially since I was sick the day before I started and I was going to leave Hopper Village and not do the trek at all. But right now, I'm going to take some shots, reconnect with the gang, start the trek, and I will see you guys back at Hopper Village.
जिसके पास 3 पड़े हैं
नहीं
वो हम लोग
स्लीपिंग बैग यार इन टाइम पे 2-3 मिनट उसमें भी ज़ाया होते हैं
वो हम लोग देने के तैयार भी नहीं है क्यों जी
स्लीपिंग बैग अब नहीं चाहिए पैक होंगे
हम कुछ ऐसे आकर निकल पड़ा
ये वैसे ये बस आज खत्म हुआ
यार इसकी कढ़ाई बनाई होती ना
ये भी बड़ा मजे का है वो
लाइक दिस
पावर
तू आ रहा है YouTube पे
बोलूं महाराज हो गए वहाँ पे खीर बनाते यहाँ पे लोग को फिर आगे दूसरा बनाते वहाँ तो हमने नूनी की थी
Oh! Yeah, it's pretty nice. It has a real shower too. Good evening, guys. I know the lighting's bad. It's been a few hours since I've been back in Hopper. I'm back at 0 Point. My Punjabi friends who I did part of the trek with are also staying here once again. And we're just waiting for our dinner now, chicken kadai. I know I got sick from it before, but willing to give it another shot. It's really good. But anyway, let me talk about the last day of the trek a little bit. So after we left Hamder, within 30 minutes, we came to another village called Hapakun. Is that right? That's the name?
Welcome.
Hapakun. And there's people living there year round. As you saw, the whole village is on the side of a mountain made of rocks, every building there, and there's a guest house. It was quite luxurious for being out in the middle of nowhere, and they made us tea. That was one of the highlights of the day, to meet the people in that village and to relax there for a bit and have some chai. It's getting dark pretty quick, so I'm gonna try to say everything I want to say. After Hapakun, it was pretty gradual coming down, and it was really cool connecting back to the trail we started from. As I mentioned before, it was on that little piece of land between the first two glaciers that you cross. And then coming back across the Hopper Glacier, which is where we started the first glacier crossing. As you saw, it gets pretty sketchy. It just reassured me to why I hired a guide in the first place. It was, I think, even sketchier coming back than going forward. Even both of the guides, my guide Kazim and Ali, who was with the other group, we were all having trouble finding the route. It's pretty difficult, and they've traversed it many times, so definitely glad I hired a guide. Kazim was great. The whole trip was great. I couldn't be happier with this trek. So that's going to wrap it up for this series. I highly recommend the Rush Lake, Rush Peak trek. As you know, I usually go most places alone when it comes to trekking, so I can go at my own pace. But for this one, I actually recommend a guide, unless you're familiar with glacier crossings, which even if you are, it's still pretty unpredictable. But as you know, I wasn't, so I hired a guide. It was worth it for me, and it's honestly one of the hardest treks I've done in a while. Definitely the hardest one I've done in Pakistan. So if you're looking for an adventure and a tough trek, definitely recommend this one, Rush Lake, Rush Peak in Nagar district. So tomorrow I'm heading even further north into Gilgit-Baltistan, the Gojal region, where they speak yet another language, the Wakhi language, which I don't know any words, but 2 years ago I was in the Wakhan corridor of Afghanistan, where there are Wakhi people there as well. I'm going to be close to that border yet again, and I'm really excited for that. So definitely stay tuned for those adventures. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you for the light. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.